Hey, everybody, welcome into the podcast, the first segment of Electrify Expo Seattle 2023. We are in Electrify Show Off, and we have our first guest of the day. We have Kevin Novotny with P-51, eBikes, and much, much more than that. We can't wait to dig into your product, man. It's awesome, and we're going to get that on camera here in just a moment. So tell us a little bit about you and what started this thing.
Well, all right. So for me, I was
no pressure.
Yeah,
None.
Exactly.
Zero.
Just start from the beginning. Well, so
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
born in '92. We won't go back that far.
There you go.
E-bikes, one of the things. So we came actually. I've ridden motorcycles my entire life. Dirt bikes, race dirt bikes. My neighbors, same way.
Man, I am so glad that we picked him first.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
This is literally like you are our guy. You're
So-
my guy.
And it's kind of funny. So like you guys, I was a motorhead. Still am a motorhead. When we showed up to our first Electrify Expo, I drove my '68 Roadrunner with a big block in it and everything's electric. It's loud as heck.
Pretty much anything with wheels, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I built my very first car was a '66 Mustang. I restored that. So motors, engines, gas combustion's always been my thing. And
Imagine that, another car guy
That's
getting
weird.
into electrification.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and it's funny. So my neighbor, same way. He had a pretty gnarly motocross accident as well. I never had a bad one, just a lot of surgery, so gave up riding. He gave up riding, and one day he's like, "Hey, dude, let me borrow your truck. I gotta go pick up these bikes." And I'm like, "All right, whatever." So he buys these electric bikes, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm not gonna ride that thing. Who is gonna ride this thing around?"
Right.
Took those out. It was the 4th of July, and had a blast. Like could not get enough of these. We rode them all day, all night. I don't even know if we watched the fireworks. We were just like, these are awesome. So we bought 7 more the next day.
Wow.
Just like our whole friends group went and bought them. And from there, it was like, these are sweet. And what's cool is like with dirt biking, you like, especially living in Southern California, the only way to go ride is to load it in your truck, drive out an hour, go ride. It's not like you can just hop on it and take off.
It's weird. Middle Tennessee is the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you got to go find Well,
It's a day
you could
event.
ride it down the street, but probably
Yeah, you can
only
get in
once.
trouble. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Same with us. Like we can go hop on the beach if we want to go to jail.
Right.
But so it's like one of those things. You're like, it's a whole day event, so you never did it that often. With these, you're like, dude, I got an hour. I'm gonna go rip around, and there's a ton of dirt trails we never even knew existed. You could never ride them on a dirt bike. So we had the bikes. This is before full suspension had come out. Nothing had come out in full suspension.
This is kind of Evel Knievel. Like if you think about what he had when he was doing all those jumps and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where you started from a suspension perspective, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we actually there were a few different components led into like how we did the full suspension. First, we cut the bikes up. AJ, my partner, he's a nut. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd see like welding lights coming out of the side. He learned how to weld, bought a welder.
We know this stuff going on, right?
And so he made those bikes have full suspension. We did everything. We lit bikes on fire. We burned everything. Like we've done everything to an e-bike you can ever imagine. We've submerged them in the ocean, continued to ride them, blew up. But so then we got the electric dirt bikes, and those started cracking down, and those have gotten still really popular today, and a lot of the places are cracking down. So it got to the point where we're like, all right, where we live, we need something that has the full suspension, which nothing had been developed. And we want it to be class 2 so we can go out and ride and not have to get worried.
Absolutely.
Like, get in trouble. So we basically came up with this he started it for his 13-year-old nephew. He's like, dude, I'm going to just build a bike from scratch. Because we were cutting everything up. We were making bikes out of, like we would buy the cheap bikes, we'd buy expensive bikes, we'd cut them in half, we'd make suspension, which was hard to do. Like they don't make suspension component. We're like taking dirt bikes apart to see how they're making swing arm joints.
This is exactly what this whole Electrify Show Off is about.
Yeah.
It is about innovating and finding things you can work with to make it work, and then finding that guy that was willing to go and fabricate things for you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to.
Jay Leno's your uncle.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
and the funny part is too. So we started like just working on e-bikes. People were asking us to make their bikes cool. So we made these pinup girls. We'd buy like packs of pinup girls and we just stick them on every bike that went out. So we kind of had an idea of
Nice
what bikes we
marketing,
worked
man.
on.
Again,
Still to this day, people show up at our houses and they're like, "Hey, do you guys like work on e-bikes?" Someone down in Huntington said like, "This street, you got to work on e-bikes." I'm like, "No, we don't work on e-bikes anymore. Not in our garage." But this was like we had been doing it for like a year, and still like this is 3 years later. People are still like, "Hey, can you guys fix this?" Like show up with random scooters, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
We just got our name out because we knew what and no one knew how to work on e-bikes. So after we made the one for his nephew, we're like, dude, this thing is sick. We should build like a full-size one for us and like just for ourselves. So we messed around, and the reason we used square tube is because the round tube would roll away, and we weren't good at welding. So like the actual frame design came from just necessity of being able to move the parts around and get the progression angles right. We learned all about suspension just from try or mess up every time.
That's how you do it. Yeah, absolutely.
So it was like we would cut the whole top apparatus so we could bend it 1 degree and re-tack weld it and go try it to see where the rake angle should be. And then the rear, we made the plate to move it up and down so we could figure out where we want that suspension.
Right.
At the time, even the full suspension bikes that came out didn't have sealed bearings in the swing arms. They were literally on a bolt, so they just squeaked. They never really worked right. So we actually had to we'd buy a long tube. We would mill it out to 1/2 inch. We'd mill out, press bearings into it, and we made a sealed bearing swing arm
And you
joint.
guys are doing all this yourself.
We were doing all this ourselves. That we were getting help with. Like at that point, we had like welders helping us because we weren't making safe frames.
Yeah.
At that point, we had decided. A bunch of people were like, "Oh, we really love your bikes. Like, can you make us one? Can you make us one?" We're like, "Well, if we're gonna do that, we should like have a manufacturer."
Exactly. Yeah.
So we brought it to like a certified transportation welder at this point. And that's kind of right then is when we saw the Electrify Expo. We went to the very first one just to see the band Arizona. It wasn't even to see.
What year was that? The first?
I think it was 2019.
2019.
Right?
Yeah.
So we went to the first one. It was a 1-day event. We only went for the band. And we looked around and we're like, how does nobody even know? Like nobody there knew how to work on their e-bikes. No reps of the companies knew anything about the e-bikes. Like it was just like they were there to sell stuff that was like, oh, if it doesn't work, then you just get a different one.
Right.
Like, it doesn't. So at that point we were like, all right, let's do this. So the next year, 30 days before, we decided, let's launch our bike as a company. Let's just do it.
Okay.
So we booked the Electrify Expo and we launched it. And we were sold out for the entire first
That
year.
that is amazing. Is amazing success story for sure.
Now
your bikes, by the way, P-51. Let's get to the name. I want to know where
that's
did
I
you
was
come
going.
up with the name? I think I know, but
So all right, so the name, it was kind of so like I said, we had the bullet or the pinup grill.
right.
So we were importing a bunch of different bikes. Not a bunch. We were importing electric dirt bikes, Surons, that became kind of illegal. We had pinup grills on them. And so we always drank Bullet whiskey when we were working on our own bikes. It was like late at night, we just drink Bullet.
Oh,
so
I
we're
love
like,
this
we're
guy,
gonna,
man.
we're like,
I
we're gonna
have
name
no
this.
idea what you guys are talking
Yeah,
about.
no burden for you.
So we're gonna name it Bullet Bikes, not spelled like Bullet whiskey, because obviously that's
Right.
trademarked. So there is another company that has. So we originally launched, it was like the whole marketing. We were like, we're gonna be Bullet Bikes. Bullet Bikes, we probably could have launched and been okay, but there is another company that owns a company called Bullet Bikes.
Right.
That's never made a product in the world, but it's backed by a fairly large corporation that just they own it as a name. So we were like, we don't want to do that. We don't want to launch into an issue. And one of the things that was really different about us is we started working and learning about e-bikes before there was like YouTube about them, before there was really any information out there. Which, if you look at the history of like when the P-51 was developed, the actual airplane, it was during a time of we didn't know why we were losing in the war. Like we couldn't keep up with the planes. So a bunch of engineers were like, dude, let's just throw this thing together, and they did it, and that's the reason we won the war. Because someone came out with a product that it wasn't really fully engineered from the start. It was like, we need this now, and we need to figure it out. So that was kind of the part. And the Industrial Revolution was a huge point of like both of us were both business owners already separate from this.
Right.
And so that really like drew into just like that whole era.
Yeah.
Of like just learning it on your own and figuring it out
All
and
this
making
is
the
so
best product.
familiar to us, yeah.
It
like,
is,
and,
it
and
is.
I love the entrepreneurial spirit of just.
That's what this whole electrification movement is about. That.
Absolutely.
Just the
you know,
badass.
and
badassery.
we got to give a shout out to Neil, director of Electrify Show Off here, who's bringing a lot of this stuff in here and really showing the talent that's here at these shows. And we're going to be talking, guys, with a lot more folks. But right now, this e-bike is amazing. So I'm going to get up.
Perfect.
And I'm going to walk over with my camera, and you can sit right there, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'll take this from you once you get over there. I'm going to adjust the levels for you guys while you walk over there, and let's do a walk around on the bike. So you're going to have to do one in each hand.
Okay, that's
Can
fine.
you walk and chew gum?
I think I can, guys.
We're going to get a look at now.
Stay
try
tuned.
not to trip over our Hitchfire grill, which we'll get to later. By the way, you guys that are watching
All right.
this on
I'll be right back.
a live stream, we have a bunch of brand products that are going to be in some of these shots. Check our website at partscounterguru.com, and you can find a show brands link. And Kevin, if you want to give Jay he'll mic you up over there, yeah. And we'll just I'm just going to make sure you guys don't get feedback.
Hold on 1 second here.
Yep.
I need to change my camera angle here.
Yep. I haven't added you yet, so let me know when you're ready. Just hit the flip button. So go into cam. Yeah. There you go. check out. All right, I'm going to add you guys into the stage. And so
industry, that's what they have. There is no electric bike, especially in our class, that has anywhere near that type of travel. And a lot of that comes from learning how the progression angles work on suspension, how the mounting points work on suspension, how it actually operates is the only way you can actually make it ride and operate like that and like it should. Also, we use steel, which everyone says is heavy. It is heavier, but because we don't have to use all the filler metal or cage it to make it strong enough, because steel's already strong, we're able to make a swing arm like this, and we're only about 3 pounds heavier than any competitor, which doesn't matter on an e-bike.
and you're using you're using a really nice display on top that I would guess is, well, what kind of a display is that? Hey, you got some great interviewer skills here. Yeah.
So, one of the things that's funny, so like I said, we were developing these bikes only for ourselves. So we didn't go use the cheap parts. We use FSA headsets. We use all the parts that we would put on our own bike because we were only building them for us. And if we're going to make a product, we're going to make it how it should be out of the box, not like, oh, this is cheap, you got to do all these upgrades. I mean, even like the direct mount stem, we actually produce and manufacture our own direct mount stems because we couldn't find one that was exactly like we wanted. Yeah, it's way more expensive than it would cost to get one if we bought one from a company already making it, but it wasn't right. Same with lights. So we actually, if you look at most electric bikes, they run a 3 volt, or 3 volts out of their controller because that's what like the speedo and everything run off. Right. But it makes the lights dim. So if you have an LED light on there, it's going to be yellowish, it's going to be dim. Everyone complains about the dim light. We developed our controller to have a 12 volt output, so we actually can run Baja lights, 2-phase rear tail light and dust light. Like, it actually has all the lighting of a dirt bike. We have 1,900 lumens out of our front light, which is unheard of.
Can I sit on this thing?
Oh, absolutely. Sit on this thing. And we're constantly upgrading and finding new products that we can actually make.
This is awesome.
It sits like a normal dirt bike.
You're not, it's way more like an off-road bike than an e-bike, right? It's got that, ooh, man. I'm ready to go hop over some logs.
Exactly, and the key was to make it so it's Class 2, so we can still go anywhere a Class 2 electric bike can go, which is basically anywhere a bike can go. So we can take this to Yosemite, we can take this to national parks, we can ride it on bike trails and bike lanes legally. Again, we use LG batteries with a high-quality BMS, which things a lot of people don't even know about, and you wouldn't even have to mention if you were selling the bike. But we do it because we know everything in our bike and what it does, and we know how to make every part, so we're going to use the best parts of it. Like this apparatus is what I was saying. We would cut it right here so we could bend it 1 degree with a little protractor on the ground and tack weld it to make sure that this progression and rake angle was correct. In order to get, we have 200 millimeters of front fork travel, which is a lot. But it also doesn't feel like it's going to dive, but it also doesn't feel like it's squirrely. Like you want it to be right in the correct pocket. We have what other companies would consider their high technology package. That comes stock on our bike. We don't have anything low technology. And the reason we didn't choose to put an app in there, we had that removed. We had the Bluetooth removed. Because we want a bike, when you're out riding a bike, you're supposed to be disconnected. That's the whole point. Why do you go ride a dirt bike? Why do you go drive your classic car? To be disconnected and feel just you're one with your vehicle. I don't want to every time have to hop on and connect to an app.
Sure.
So everything is controllable within this display. There's programming, there's settings. You can enter it right here, anywhere you're out. Just makes it so your riding experience is about riding, not about being connected.
All right, I got a couple questions that you as a builder, this is just common knowledge to you, but I know some people watching this and looking at this are going to have. So first of all, these clamps are badass. This is fully yours.
Yep.
It looks like you got your own pedals with the branding on them.
Yep.
I can bring an extra battery, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Sorry, and Kevin's a better interviewer than I am, everybody, because I'm not holding the mic over when he answers. That's yes to all those.
Yep.
And then you've got. So I can bring an extra battery pack. You got throttle control up here.
Yep.
And then you can also do the pedal assist. Man, there's
another big thing you'll notice with us too. We have 203 millimeter discs front and rear with dual pistons. hydraulic brakes, which some companies, I don't even know why they don't have hydraulic brakes already, because this is safety. I mean, these things are heavy. You got to be able to stop. But we make sure we have solid brakes, the Iagura 500 E-Comps. They're 203 millimeters. The stopping power on this thing is just excellent. And we do it front and rear because you use your back brake too. I don't know why people do the smaller front or the smaller rear and the bigger front, but
especially if you're going downhill. I'm on that back brake way more than I'm on the front brake. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then even to another thing that we don't do that is different from us, we actually have the motors. We work with a Hentac motor now, and it allows us to actually take them apart, and we actually re-gear it to make sure that our torque is exactly where we want it to be to pair with ours. So every single part is paired with how our electrical system and our torque runs, and it's
go ahead.
To none.
Second to none, right? And I'm seeing that, you guys. Like, this is, if you're thinking at all about wanting something that you can take off pavement, look no further. So probably the most important question, Kevin, and I'm going to try to do a better job with my microphone interviewer skills, is if people want to get one of these, how do they do that? How do they find out more about you guys? Tell us all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can look us up at p51bikes.com. You can also message us on our Instagram, p51bikes. Our whole team manages everything in-house. So when you're messaging us through the shop chat, or you're messaging us on email or through the Instagram or anything, it's coming directly to one of us on the team, and all of us are answering any of the questions, which is good because we can answer every single question because we developed every single part. If you want to buy one, they're shipped directly to your door. We ship to the lower 48. We can ship to Hawaii as well. We just don't ship to Alaska yet. Our bikes come almost fully assembled. So our box is actually CNC'd foam, 3 different pieces. The only thing you have to put on is the 4 bolts for the stem, the kickstand, and the pedals. Other than that, this bike is laid in the box. You open it up. We actually have one over at the booth if anyone wanted to check it out. It is almost fully assembled, super protected, and it's just, that was a big thing to us. We want it to be I can put together a bike in about 10 minutes.
What's your booth number, Kevin?
I wish I knew. I think it's 502.
Sounds good.
We're right at the end cap. You'll see us. We're a double wide booth.
So if you are thinking, if you're in the Seattle area and you want to come by and check this out, P-51 bikes, they're over, we think it's 502. You guys, you'll find
We're right
them
on the test track. You'll see us, big booth.
There's a QR code, sorry. There's a QR code that I saw you can scan on your way in, and it'll give you the show map. And you were about to say, go ahead.
Yeah, and we are doing a sale on all the bikes that we have here on the floor for anyone who's local to Seattle, just because otherwise people do have to ship them. We don't have dealers. So if you come by, there's almost one of each color. So,
all right, cool. Check them out, P-51 Bikes. Check out our website at partscounterguru.com for all of our brand links. Thanks to our brand sponsors for making this possible. Kevin, thanks for hanging out with us, man. We'll catch you in a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for having me over.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't leave. We've got I've got to go stop the